You're listening the Virtual CISO podcast, providing the best insight on information security and security IT advice to business leaders everywhere.
A third thing that you talked about in the blog was privacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and all these pieces link together so tightly. But let me, I'll ask you, John. I'll ask you, and I'll ask.
Wait a second. I'm the podcast host. I get to ask you.
I know, but let me ask.
You don't get to ask me hard questions. You don't understand the equation here, do you, William?
So, you sign up for a product. You put your information in it. Who is going through that information? Why are they going through your information? How are they exploiting your information for their benefit? No, those are some abstract questions. We can get more specific, but if you have a SaaS provider who, there's a very simple, let's call it a shortcut to this thinking to say if that you're not paying for the product, you are the product. I'm sure everyone's heard this. But even when you do pay for the product, the service provider has every incentive in the world to try to obtain more value from you however they can. The most recent example, I'm sure you've seen this headline. So GM was collecting analytics and telemetry from their electric vehicle fleet, at least their electric vehicles, but perhaps their full fleet. And then through data brokers, that information landed in insurance companies' hands. And all of a sudden premiums are spiking for, down to the individual basis, maybe aggregated over a group of drivers. But like, this is how it flows. And this is what I'm trying to say is when you have placed your information in someone else's trust, you can't know down to a daily basis on each record what they're looking at, whether, it's a common refrain. We use aggregated metrics. What does that mean? Is my name in there? Is my face in there? Yes or no? Did you put a blur over it? I guess what I'm trying to articulate is that if you can't control access to your information yourself, you put it in someone else's hands, you shouldn't be surprised when, not if, someone else has trolled through your information for a reason that you didn't anticipate. There are agreements in place. There are terms and conditions saying we will disclose to you what the purpose is. And, updates go out on like an hourly basis. I just saw one pass on my screen for a Venmo privacy policy update. How many of you are reading those? How many of you are really diving into deep on these and understanding they've now asked for a new way to use your data? Are you aware of it? Are you surprised by it? Structurally, it's flawed. You've given your information to someone else and you're trusting that they won't use it for a reason that you didn't intend. This is a structural defect. We can structure our systems such that this is not a possibility. I tend to wax philosophic, John, so you give me a wink if you think I'm running along. But give you a counterpoint to this. Confidential computing in the public cloud. That is a structural facility that allows you to place your information in someone else's systems and be absolutely sure that they're not reading it, they're not running through it, they're not exploiting it, they're not processing it. Why is that not the norm? I'm not against SaaS. What we're advocating for are structural features that make trust optional, trust not necessary, trust a nice thing for two nice people to share between each other, but not necessary for business and for baseline transactions.
Yeah, I did a fascinating podcast last week. I don't think it's been published yet. And the concept of privacy and if you're not paying for something, you are the product.